All right. Hello, New Venture Lab. This is the assignment walkthrough for the assignment titled Assignment Number 9 Interview Questions. So the focus here is on creating questions that you would actually ask a potential customer, potential first-time user, during an actual one-on-one interview. So later we'll focus on doing like a feedback survey. And those questions are a different set of questions. They might be similar, but slightly different than that which you would ask in a one-on-one interview. Okay, we're going to do at least 10 is the goal, at least 10 questions, and you're going to submit it in a single document, whatever you like to use, Canva, Word, Google Sheets, could be whatever, but you'll just include that. Make sure that if you do a shareable link, that you do anyone with link can view. Okay. Ultimately, you're going to want to watch the mom test video and read the article in Canvas for the mom test. Ultimately, when you're having a one-on-one interview with people, they're going to want to be nice, generally, just like your mom would want to be nice. So the idea is that you want to work on being unbiased and getting unbiased answers, okay? And so those resources are really good to help shape, to help kind of do a thought exercise on how it is that we can get there. Ultimately, those 10 questions, we want to get towards the idea of, does the problem actually exist? Okay, so you might be interviewing somebody and they tell you that that this not that big of a problem, or it's really maybe even not a problem. In which case, like one person telling you that is not enough data. You know, more research is needed. But if you continually run into people who are interviewing what you would suspect as your interview customers, your initial target audience, and they keep telling you like no, or that it's not that big of a problem, then maybe it doesn't actually exist, or maybe it doesn't exist. Maybe maybe it exists, but it's not big enough of a problem that they'd be willing to spend money to solve it, or that it's a large enough of a problem to actually build a business around. So who has the problem? That is a little bit, you're guessing at first a little bit. Like, in other words, like you might be you might be thinking that your target audience is other college students because you're a college student and you experienced the problem. But potentially there's a whole other group of people, like maybe men between the ages of 45 and 54, or women between the ages of whatever, 35 and 44, are more likely to actually pay you for that solution. Maybe it's a bigger problem for them. So you want to be as unbiased as possible. Right here, there's a whole little kind of excerpt on being unbiased. So the idea is, it's natural. You're going to want to be biased because you want to validate that your assumptions are correct. Okay, this is just natural, like human nature, natural. But it is directly impacts the actual science. Okay, so the idea is being an unbiased, diligent scientist. Okay, if you can come to the conclusion that your problem does not exist, or that the business is not feasible, and you can do that in a short amount of time, this is a tremendously underestimated entrepreneurial success, because over and over and over again, entrepreneurs over the decades have over the centuries, have come to the same conclusion that this is not actually a viable business years later, right? And we want to get to that point in a couple weeks if we can go out and conduct a test, conduct interviews, and come to the conclusion that it's not feasible in a short amount of time. That's where we want to get to. Okay, so I'm going to do my best to keep these videos short. So the resources for actually creating these questions are in Canvas. I might recommend real quick in this video is since we're doing 10 and it is in person, you want to be kind of thinking like it says here, ask like a lead question, like, okay, so like say it's a problem with your commute. What is your current commute time? Might be like the first question, and then the next question might be like, do you drive an electric vehicle? Do you drive a gas-powered vehicle? Do you get stopped at this area? What roads do you take? Do you take the highway? Whatever it might be. And then the next one might be like, well, what do you do during your commute? You know, like, do you listen to music? Do you listen to podcasts? Whatever it is, like, whatever problem you're trying to solve. Okay, so maybe a couple questions for whether or not the problem exists, and then a few questions for will they spend money to solve it. Obviously, we kind of know maybe who it is that we're interviewing, so maybe you might maybe you don't. So maybe you ask them a little bit about themselves so you can better understand like their demographic and interests to define that. So whether the problem exists, couple questions about their demographics and so forth. Will they spend money to solve it? That's like the big one. And is it large enough of a problem to build a business around? And the idea here is that when you start asking these interview questions and people start going like, oh my God, that's such a big problem for me. It happens every day. I would pay you top dollar today for a solution for that. This is where you start to know that you're actually solving what we call a migraine level problem, okay? A problem that is a persistent problem that people would pay, again, top dollar to solve. And if they're like, oh yeah, maybe it's kind of a problem, and then it's probably not worth our time. But when we're solving a migraine level problem, it'll be like, oh my God, I could use that today. Okay. I don't think I've actually shared this in this class, so I'll share it really quick. Dropbox they were the first. The company Dropbox, they were the first movers in the large file sharing. Okay, so I can text my friend. Excuse me, I cannot text my friend a 20-minute video, right? You can't send that in a text message, but I can do an airdrop of a 20-minute video to my friend, right? So Dropbox was the first movers in that, okay? It was a huge technological leap from what the state of the art was in 2005, which was sending flash drives across the globe. Okay, people would send flash drives across the globe. Firms, businesses across the globe would send flash drives to each other. This took a long time, right? Snail mail, okay, across the Atlantic, across the Pacific. And so Dropbox, what they did was, rather than spend millions of dollars to develop this new technology, they made a video that made it look like, okay, if I upload this file here and download it over here. So in other words, I can upload this file on this computer, and then I'll go and download it over here on this other computer. They sent this video all over the globe to all these different firms, and those firms were like, oh my God, that solves so many problems for us. I would pay you top dollar for that today. This is a huge indication that that it is feasible, that this is a problem we're solving. Okay. Now and of course, there's interview questions that went along with this, right? But it was like, the interview questions is almost like, no, I will pay you top dollar today for that, and that's what we want to kind of really find, right? And by the way, we call that a smoke and mirrors MVP, making that video that made it look like it worked, but it didn't necessarily work. Anyway, have that kind of thinking in mind as you go into this, and then also make sure you do the reading, watch the video on the mom test that is in the resources section of the module, and reach out as always if you have any questions whatsoever. I am here and happy to help. Okay, all right, best. Have a great week, Justin.